squint and looked. Bear pointed at a thin cluster of buzzards at the bottom of the slope, but Joe couldn't see anything useful. It was just a scrappy bunch of bushes. There's something there, Bear said, throwing it. If it's what I think it is, we need to investigate. Bear and Joe crept forward towards the bush, but it was only when Bear pushed some of the leaves that Joe saw it for himself. A reindeer was caught up by its massive antlers in a touch of branches and stalks. It lay slumped on the ground. Is it? Joe couldn't say the word. Did, said Bear, leaning down and playing his hand on its neck. He spun not long ago. Joe started. He realized that this was the closest to a wild animal he had ever been in real life. How did I die? He asked. Bear pointed to one of the reindeer legs. It was bent in a weird way. It must have broken its legs and then got caught up in the bush. It would have struggled for a bit, but out here breaking a leg in this sentence for an animal like this, it probably died of exhaustion. So what do we do? Joe said. Well, this will feed a lot of other animals around here. It hasn't frozen yet, so I will refresh. Bear cut the antlers free of the bush. Then he and Joe dragged the reindeer out into the open. Now we need to get God and skin it before it freezes solid. Bear said. Got it? Joe asked. I mean, take out the stomach and innards. They go off very quickly, and they couldn't poison the rest of the meat. Without them, the body will freeze natural and be safe to eat for weeks. Joe dropped it as he realized what Bear was going to do. You mean we're going to eat? We're going to take enough to last us a day or two, Bear agreed. He smiled softly. I know it can seem harsh, but survivors can't afford to be sentimental, taking food that become beloved saved us having to spend time and effort to get it later. Bear cut a slide down the front of the reindeer and pulled it far apart. The reindeer innards were like skin blueberry bags all just laid together. Bill pulled them out onto the snow in a sloping, quivering heap that steamed gently in the freezing air. They're all small spade in my rucksack, Bear said. Please could you dig a hole in the snow to bury this in, and then we'll dig another hole big enough to take the reindeer. While Joe got to work digging, Bear started to remove the reindeer's fur. This is something else we can ask this guy for its practice lush. It could keep him warm in a museum 50-degree winter, so it will do for us too. But I have to remove it quickly. Soon it'd be frozen and impossible to work with. Bear left the fur on the reindeer's head, and it looked below the knees. Everywhere else, he used the knife and his fingers to separate skin from the red flesh underneath. After a few minutes, the fur came away completely like a reindeer-shaped rock. Then Deer used the knife to cut one of the reindeer's rear legs. Fortunately, we don't have to worry about keeping this refrigerated. It will just freeze naturally. Joe released. That's right. Now let's get our friend Bruce somewhere the predator can get at him. Between them, Joe and Bear dragged the reindeer over to the hole Joe had started and made in their purr. It's a shame we'd have to leave so much, Joe had said as they covered it up. It seemed like a waste. We can take it, Bear agreed, but maybe others will. We're going to mark this spot so what any other explorers who come this way will be able to find it, and so can we if we need to come back. Joe looking around. The earth was of snow and ice. Looked back. There was no sign of humans anywhere. Suddenly Joe felt very lonely. He was extremely glad he had Bear for company. Bear caught a branch and jammed it into the ground. In a place like this, Bear said, seriously, you do what you can for your fellow explorers. Maybe we'll never know it if we help someone today, but we will know with tired. Bear tore a colored scrap of cloth from his rucksack and tied into the top of the branch so that it fluttered like a little red flag. Joe and Bear together folded up the fur. Bear opened up his rucksack. Okay, not enough room in here for everything now. Not with the fur and the legs. Do you mean doing some crane? Sure, no problem, but I don't have a bag. Bear grinned. Leave that to me. They pulled out the tarpaulin and rolled the leg up in it. There were metal eyelets in the tarpaulin at each corner. We folded the two ends together and tied them together with a piece of string through the eyelet. Now the full tarpaulin was a continuous tube. Bill looped it over Joe's arms and head and folded it back behind his neck. Now the trampoline ran from under one arm up over one shoulder round Joe's neck and down under the other arm. Joe could feel the weight of the leg pulling his shoulders back. It wasn't anything he couldn't handle, and it all felt nice blanket. They took a drink from the bottle. Sure enough, the snow had melted into cold, tasty water. Joe and Bear started to walking again, and after a few hundred meters. Joe looked back. He couldn't still see the fluttering red scarf. It was the only splash of color into wool landscape. Anyone who looked that way could see it immediately. Well, Joe thought maybe the reindeer would help someone else one day. Joe turning back to the way ahead and his own problems. There was still a lot of wilderness ahead to get lost in, he thought. Neighbor Boss said, "Hey, maybe someone would have left them a marker too."